Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Live Your Spa Life show. Spa Life is a lifestyle that accepts that accomplishment and harmony coexist. The spa in Spa Life, the SPA, is for Seek Power Always, that power within you to do your greater work here in the world. I am so elated to introduce to you my special guest today, Susie Carder, who started out as a low-paid hairdresser trying to support her two little girls. But working for someone else became a challenge, to say the least. She decided to do whatever it took to create her own business. And after much blood, sweat, and tears mixed with cheap mascara, she went on to create not one, but two $10 million companies. Susie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love your mission. Thank you for everything that you're doing for the industry. I appreciate you so much. We need more game changers out there, right?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And we're so excited about sharing your genius here. And speaking of genius, your core genius is the ability to simplify complex issues by creating simple, proven systems that guarantee dramatic growth for any company. And I know we want to dive deeper into this because you've helped over 100,000 entrepreneurs to increase their revenues by more than 3,000%. And in case you all are driving and you think you hit a pothole, you heard me right, 3,000%. And
Right.
you've worked with the top business moguls. I mean, anywhere from John Assaraf, Nichols, Harvey, Doug Carter, and Paul Mitchell. What do you think is the number one thing that businesses need to simplify?
Well, first, like when I start working with entrepreneurs, what I realize is 90% of them do not have an updated plan, right? They might have created a plan when they first launched their business, but then they file it away, in your computer or in a drawer and never look at it again. And so we're literally just making stuff up. And I'm a firm believer, I'm creative, so I do make up a lot of stuff, but I make it up with a plan and a strategy and a foundation. So wherever you're at, you've got to get back to what is that plan? What's the original vision? What's the original mission? Is that still relevant today? Who's that ideal client? Is that relevant today? Right? It seems most people don't want to do it because it feels like poke a needle in your eye, but I promise you, it's like parting the Red Seas. It's just creating, right? I'm a creative individual. That's why I really had to put system and strategy in place because I'm so creative that I can get distracted by the sparkle, the squirrel, pretty, that big opportunity. And there's so many big opportunities around us. And they go, oh, right. Is that the right opportunity I need to be pursuing now? Because you can spend a lot of time and money pursuing a project that maybe your infrastructure isn't ready for, maybe you're not ready for, right? To go, what's that thing that I need to put in place? So that plan is really, really important. I created my plan. And my plan is in place. And then every year I look at tweaking my marketing plan, making sure my ideal client is the same or the qualified client. There's a difference between fans and customers. And, do you have more fans or do you have more customers? Like we need following, we need, people loving us and liking us, but are they buying? That's a big distinction. You got to get them to, put out the money for your product or service so we can't keep doing this amazing work that everyone's up to in the world.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of systems and structure, and anything that simplifies is definitely a step in the right direction. I know that, I find this too with my clients where, they are more of the creative and they want to do the fun stuff, right? And the plan feels like the heavy stuff. How can you make going back to your plan, reviewing your plan, one, knowing when to tweak it, and two, to embrace that as part of the journey?
Well, one, you tweak it every year, right? So I'm looking at my plan. Look, I don't know. Most people, I freak out like in my business, just like everybody else. And so what gives me calm is to go back to my plan. So I'm looking at it every month. So I live in my plan. My plan really is just here's the roadmap to what I'm doing in the next 3 to 5 years. But especially if you're having a down month and you freak out, like I remember last quarter, I was freaking out and I'm like, oh, that was in my plan. I wouldn't have the revenue that I'm having this month to sustain what I'm doing. So it's cash flow. So it just allows me to breathe and sit into what's happening, right? Sit into the foundation of my business. So every year you're going to restructure it. You're going to relook at it. You're going to tweak it. You're not going to overhaul it, right? Once you write the foundational plan with your mission, your vision, who the target market is, what the edge group is, what the demographic is, all that pretty much stays the same. Annually, I'm looking at my marketing plan, my sales plan, my financial plan, and tweaking it and setting goals based on that. Right. So those are the three elements that I'm shifting ongoingly. And then every month I'm looking at it, I'm looking more at my financial plan and my marketing plan to go, am I doing the things that I need to be doing? Did I get distracted? And I'm not going to lie, I get distracted, right? Something comes up and again, I'm creative, we're entrepreneurs. It's what we do great. Best, right? Is create and manifest, but making sure that I'm staying on task and on target.
Right. Well, I'm sure that for your clients and mine, the pandemic was not on the plan. How is it when things like this come up that's been unprecedented? How are you supporting people to make those shifts, maybe before the year is ended, to look at where they are now? Is it a big shift? Is it a little shift? Is it like, status quo, keep going forward? How do you take things like this into consideration with relationship to your plan?
Yeah, so everybody's had to pivot, right? And some pivots have been drastic. If they've had a brick and mortar business and we've had to close it down, we had to really look at cash reserves. What could we, what conversations could we be in? Can we hold on the leases and the mortgages, and what's that look like? And then once the business opens up, what's that plan, right? Because it's going to be chaos in the beginning. And if you're not ready for the chaos, it can hit you upside the head. So I don't want my clients to be in chaos. I want them to look at, okay, so our doors are planned to open at this time. Who's the first clients that I call? Who's the second clients that I call? How am I getting the word out? How am I having people feel safe? What's the communication that I need to say? Are we doing sanitation things so people feel safe if it's a restaurant or if it's a salon or spa or if it's a retail establishment? We've got to have our consumers feel comfortable to go out again, because everybody's freaking out. Right? If it's an online business, right? So I had 15 events that we had to cancel this year. Well, the events were where we'd get our leads and our clients to go, okay, how do we pivot? How do we still be in front of people and yet not be in front of people? So that's really taking, podcasts, that's looking at creating virtual events, right? Leveraging it. How can I serve my community? How can I support clients so they're not freaking out? Right? What are the added value that we could give at this time so clients feel your presence? Feel your presence. Like we did a huge initiative just with our A customers and just we sent them Omaha steaks and said, have dinner on me, right? I know you can't go out and you can't indulge, so let me take care of you. Those are our A customers, right? To go, how do I serve them and have them see my presence, feel my presence, so they know I care more? And I'm really looking at what can I do to stay in their space, right, in this time. So how can you be creative and do some specialties, right? Our book launch was set to go out tomorrow, right? We were hitting the stores tomorrow, but that all got canceled because of the pandemic. So we just shifted and went, okay, now it's in September. So how do we pivot that? Because we've spent the last year gearing up for this, which was exciting, and to feel like it fell flat, to go, okay, it's just part of what's happening. I have no control of that. You have no control of it as businesses, to go, well, how do I make it rain? How do I leverage this time? How do I have clients not feel like they're not getting something, right? So we started doing just Monday calls to serve our market and serve our community, and you can ask anything, and it just gave breath to entrepreneurs. So I think it's being innovative and creative to go, how can I still serve my market so they see me, they feel me, they touch me, I'm touching them, right? So when the market does come back, they remember those who served and they remember those that disappeared. Because there's been people that have disappeared. I don't know if you've experienced what I've experienced. They're like, what happened? What happened to those leaders? They're gone now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I get that, and I feel all of it. And I love just, these technical terms of people who are freaking out, and also, being aware of the chaos. I mean, it reminds me when I was working as a police officer. I mean, it was always like, what is the next chaos, and to plan for that. And it really comes down to asking better questions. Like, what do the people need? What is going on with them? And, I've been guilty for moments of disappearing because I've wanted to like regroup and be like, okay, what do my people need? What do they need to hear? What do we need to look like? But it's important to step back in and, as you've looked at different creative ways to serve, it's important to, step in that role as a leader to really see how we can shift those things, how we can move into that. And so, even like with your book, I mean, this is your book coming out. This is your 10th book, Power to Profit. I would love for you to share a little bit about that. Are you going to do some pre-sales, or is everything waiting until September? What are you going to look at? Because, this book here is a bulletproof start to finish plan. So back to the plan about taking your business from startup mode to the multi-million-dollar mark. I think people really need that now, about what they're looking about, what that new plan is and how it is. So how are you shifting, getting that book into people's hands?
Yeah, so we're doing a pre-sale, right? You can go to poweryourprofitsbook.com, and we have over $3,000 worth of bonuses that you can take advantage of, right? So when I look at that, where can you spend $28 and get $3,000 of value? Only with your profit coach, Susie Carder. And then, so we've got, a webinar, a wisdom and wealth program that we used to sell for $1,200 that you can get on, which really looks at your financial mindset and how do you shift that? Because a lot of us were born into a certain financial mindset unconsciously. And I'm saying, let's be conscious. Let's be conscious about what money means to you. Let's be conscious of your spending. Let's be conscious of really recreating, what we inherited from our parents and our grandparents and our community and our churches, right? All that stuff we realize comes into play when we start looking at money. And so that program just gives you access to, what's happening around you and money. And then I have some fast cash tips and techniques that we can start looking at. How do I bring in money now, right? Because entrepreneurs are in a different space. This book, it really took me 30 years to write when I really look at it, from doing it wrong, right? And those are some of the biggest lessons. And I'm sure you can agree, but how we did it wrong made a bigger impact in my business than how I did it right. Because those are bloody knees, bloody elbows, right? Skinned face of going, oh, I don't want to do that again. And what sounds great in theory isn't necessarily great in practical. So it's everything that I did to build a multi-million-dollar business, and as a system and a structure. That's why I can start working with clients and immediately create impact and financial impact, because it's all about a structure. And I'm gonna confess, I don't like structure, right? I didn't like a calendar. I don't want anybody to be the boss of me, right? That's why I'm an entrepreneur. But I realized structure gives me freedom. Yeah. Structure allows me to play bigger. Structure gives me predictability. Structure allows me to see what I need to spend my money on and what I don't need to spend my money on, right? Looking at my budgets and looking at, did that give me the return on investment? So all those little things that make millions, right? It's not one thing we do. It's all the little things that we do that end up being, making millions. Only 1% of entrepreneurs in the world hit $1 million mark. And that's gross sales. That's not profit. That's gross sales. So first of all, I want us all to be in the $1 million club. And second, the book is called Power Your Profit, not Power Your Gross Revenue, right? Power Your Profit. How do we become more profitable as a business? Because profit as a business owner is the value that I bring to the business, right? Gross sales is all the infrastructure putting in place, but profit is your responsibility of how you're managing all those expenses, right? It's the proof in the pudding, like, oh, I'm really a business person.
I appreciate that distinction, Susie, because, a lot of people will be like, we're a $1 million company, multi-million-dollar company, but, they made $20, right? Because it all went out the door and there wasn't that profit that was in there. I mean, you can actually have a much smaller business and be much more profitable based on your structure and what that looks like. So I think that's a really important distinction. And my ears kind of perked up, and I'm sure that, especially in these times where people are wondering how they are going to come from a place of profit and how they can do that. Can you share one of your money tips for making money right now? Like what people can start, looking at differently so they can maybe change their mindset around that?
Absolutely. So the first thing I want you to really look at is segment your clientele, right? I talked about it a minute ago, A clients, right? So we really have 3 to 4 buckets. One is your A client, your B client, your C client, and then the D client. The A client is that high value client that is loyal, that spends the most money with you, and that represents about 20% of your client base, right? So 20% of your client base really makes up about 80% of your sales. So what's your marketing strategy with them, right? I just said, I sent them dinner, right? Omaha steaks, a nice bottle of wine, to really taking care of my A clients. My B clients are the clients I can nurture them to A, right? So with Sunshine vending machine, we didn't do anything else in our business but look at our A, B, and C clients, and we added an additional $750,000 of revenue to her business, not taking on any more customers, not spending any more money, but just looking at how do we keep our A customers, then how do we get our B customers to A customers? And then how do we get our C customers to B customers, right? Which is marketing, loyalty, follow-up, right? Taking care of our people. Some of us are so good at putting people in our camps, right? In your campuses or in your businesses, and then we're off to get the next customer. Well, let's look at our client retention strategies. What am I doing once I get them in? What's the fulfillment sequence? Which that's just fancy words for how am I talking to my clients, right? What am I saying to them? How am I nurturing them? How am I touching them? The higher the program or the higher price your service is, the more access they have to you and the more intimacy there is. The lower the price point, less intimacy, less access. So those are C customers that are maybe might just be buying one time or off brands, but they still represent money in your business. So you still have to have a strategy for them. So just looking at your A, B, and C customers. If you're going, Susie, I don't really have any customers. Awesome. Then what can you do to get in front of them, right? That's doing podcasts. That's doing virtual summits. That's getting into the right groups. Are you a LinkedIn person? Meaning, are all your customers in LinkedIn? Are they more a professional group? Then spend your time in those groups, right? If it's more social, we look at all my social channels, and LinkedIn and Instagram are the highest engaged. So I'm spending more of my time there. So I have to know that data, so I'm not wasting money or wasting time, and time is money, we all know that, playing in the wrong arena. Especially now that the industry is shut down, to go, how do I be in front of customers? Still go to networking groups. I'm still involved in networking groups. I'm on several boards that I'm listening to what's happening, and being a leader in those communities. I got $200,000 clients from being in those communities. That was well worth my time. It might have taken a little bit longer, right, in that nurture sequence and serving them and following up with them, but the reward was tenfold. So I want you to look at, just because the industry shut down, right? Whatever industry is, doesn't mean you have to be shut down. How do you still get seen, get heard, so then ultimately we can get paid?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that shift, and really focusing and serving beyond them walking in the door, about, asking them, again, those better questions about how they can be supported, and how what you've created allows them to thrive as well. So it becomes this win-win. One of the things I also like to look at here is, how you are, creating more impact, and how you're consciously creating your life. You've talked a lot about plans, and you have your own life plan. And I love this because I'm such a big proponent. I don't know if you're familiar with Thomas Leonard and the 9 environments, which is all the different environments that you look at to, set goals and to have intention to ask better questions around. And so I smiled when I was looking at your life plan about having specific measurable things in all these different areas of your life. So maybe share a little bit about what are the different areas of your life that you have created a plan, and what are some of the specific things that you're doing to attain them?
I love that. Thank you. So I have a life plan, right? It's called Life Book. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Life Book concept, but it is a journal of your whole life. And it looks at creating a vision, a premise, really mapping out your goals in every area of your life, your character, your integrity, your education, your financial, right, your spiritual, your home environment, and your physical environment, your physical body. And when you get that clear in relationships, right, family, relationships, when you get that clear on what is my vision, right, what is my guiding principle, what are my values in these areas, that really allows you to check in, to go, is my tongue in my mouth and my tongue in my shoe going in the same direction, or is it going in a different direction? Was it just nice words on a piece of paper, right? On a nice little plaque, right? Is it just nice words that say, these are my values, this is who I am, right? Or do you really live it? So the Life Book really allows me to set goals and put structure in place to go, if I want to lose 10 pounds, what do I really need to do? Right? How do I take care of my body? How do I get optimum health, right? What's my home environment look like so I can be more productive or feel successful and prosperous when I walk in the door, right? For me, I can't have a lot of clutter. I can't have a lot of clutter in my office because it stresses me out. It makes me want to just go to bed, right? Like, I got too much to do. So cleanliness and organization makes a big difference. And I've been doing this for a long time. So I can look at somebody's car and I can tell them really where their balance is in their checkbook, right? Is it messy? Is it disorganized? Is your trunk just scattered with stuff? Do you have food and trash in your car? I'm not saying that because I'm OCD, right? Which I might be, I don't know. But I'm saying if you go, oh, like it's just a representation of your life. And to go, oh, is this the representation I want? Right. It's not the representation I want. For me, when I get in my car, when I come into my home, is like, oh, it just feels calm. Where right now, when I look at, especially what's happening, alcohol sales have gone up 62%. Domestic violence has more than tripled, right? Suicide rates, depression rates. That's saying a lot about our environments. To go, well, what do I do to protect my environment? What do I need to protect me, to me personally, and to protect my family and my community, which is really living by my guiding principles and my values. What I'm seeing that's really popping up in here, Diane, is people's character, right? Either they're really embracing who they are, just magnifies. Stress magnifies what we're up to. So just look at that as an indicator. There's no wrong here, right? The French have a saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. When we're young, we're like, what the hell does that mean? It's kind of like what your mom said. If I knew then what I knew now, right? Like, could you tell me? She's like, no, you got to learn it on your own. To go, right. If the more they change, the more they stay the same, you want to look at, well, environments change, people change, but you're the consistent thing, right? So are you bringing chaos to the environment? Are you bringing calm to the environment? Are you bringing prosperity to your environment, right? If you want to look at what you're committed to, look at what's showing up in your life. Now, I know there's outside things that we can't control, right? So your finances are being impacted, but how can we be radical? How can we go, well, how do I stay relevant? How do I stay ahead of the game instead of watching Netflix, right? Instead of watching Amazon, instead of checking out, I'm an advocate that you need balance, but let's learn, right? Let's take the time right now, and never in the history have we ever been shut down. I mean, I know you're listening to this podcast, but what's that skill set that you're going to need? Because listen, I've grown 7 companies. I had 9 for the first 2. I'm not even gonna lie. Those bombed. I tried to have partnerships. It was horrible. I didn't know what I was doing. But I learned. So 7 multi-million-dollar companies, 7. And what I've learned in having 7 of those companies, most people I outgrew. And it depended on how fast I outgrew them, depending on how fast I grew. So if you're not learning, you're not earning. I had to let them go because they couldn't go with me. I couldn't take them to the next level. So this is the time that you want to take the coins from your purse, invest them in your mind, and your mind will fill your purse overflowing. What's that skill set, right? What can I learn in this time that would give me another skill set for my job or for my business that will allow me to prosper when this is complete?
Yeah. Oh, Susie, this is such an important conversation. I'm such a huge fan of environment and knowing what your values are and using those as guideposts. In fact, it reminded me of an exercise that I did myself and I do with my clients, where I would write on 3x5 cards, like one value, like my top 5 values. And then I would write on the back, what are things that actually reflect that? Like, what am I doing? What's my environment look like? What is my life look like in order for that value to be expressed? And I think it's so important. What you're saying is that these words need to not just be words on a paper, but how are they like manifesting in your life? How are they part of your plan? How is it that you need to look at things? And this is a perfect time to start shifting the ways that we're being and what skills can we build up and really utilize this time. I always love the, like, how are these things happening for me instead of to me? And I just love how you're really putting that out into the forefront, where this can, I think there's even some statistics around, in the worst of times have produced some of the biggest millionaires, because those are people that have looked at, what do people need? Like, what do you need to shift? How is it that you need to show up in the world that really makes a difference for people and to show up? And I love that you're creating all of this, which reminds me, one of the things I love asking my guests on the show is that because our environment is so important, we react differently, we live differently, we have different experiences in our bedroom versus our kitchen versus our office. What is your favorite room in your home and why?
I love that. That's a juicy one. So I do want to say about the 3x5 cards, that was such a great exercise. I did that exercise and then I realized that my actions weren't aligned with what I said. It was like somebody punched me in the face where I was like, I'm all proud, like these are my values and this is what I'm committed to, wrote it all down. And then the instructor said, great, now let's look at what actions you're doing to support that. And it was like, oh, wah, wah, right? All of a sudden my ego, like, I'm doing so great. Oh, like, so, I got in trouble in a loving way, right? So
Right.
if you've never done that exercise, that is a beautiful exercise. I do thank you for presencing that because I think it's so important. That's where you look, is my tongue in my mouth and my tongue in my shoe going
Yeah.
into.
That's the proof in the pudding of like what it looks like. Cause I've also done like calendar exercises, because you and I have talked about how our schedule is such an important thing. And that's what really keeps us on track. And so a lot of people would say, oh, my number one value is my family. But then if you look at their calendar, their family was nowhere on there. So it's like, where are some of those incongruencies of like, hey, if this is so important to you, your calendar is a reflection of your life. So what is on there? So also think in terms of your values of where are they on your calendar. So I love that, not only are we talking about these things, but what are some of the things that the mindset that is going behind it that actually now becomes, breathing it into life about now it's all about congruency and how you want to live your life.
Yes, I love that. So one of my favorite rooms in my house is actually not a room, right? It's a space. And so I travel a lot and I'm on the road a lot. And so when I vacation, people are like, are you excited to go on vacation? No, I don't want to go anywhere. I live, in an airplane. I live in hotels, beautiful hotels, luxury hotels. I go to some of the most amazing places in the world. But I created my backyard as my sanctuary. So it feels like, my friends call it Ritz Carter, right? So I'm Carder instead of the Carlton, Ritz Carter. It's just beautiful. It's palm trees. I have a beautiful pool. I have a beautiful jacuzzi. I have a nice palapa. In the morning, I go out and I drink my coffee and I meditate and I spend time with my man out there. I built it so people wanted to gather, so we could have parties there, that we could have family there, we could have the grandkids there, so that they can be in the pool and they're just around, right? That's my physical representation of love, is family and family gatherings, right? It doesn't have to be a big hoopla, but it has to, I just want my family around, and I want my family to want to be around me, right? As a kid, when I left at 17. I never looked back. I didn't want to spend time with my parents. I didn't have that relationship, right? I grew up in a very abusive home. Very financially abusive home, a physically abusive home, verbally abusive home, and I never wanted to go back again, right? So creating the space that is beauty and love and prosperity for my children and my children's children, right? I broke the pattern of what that looks like, right? And that they want to spend time with me. That's been my biggest gift in the world, is to go, I love that, right? And it shows that all the hard work that I did as a mom has paid off, that they want to be around me, they want to be in my space, and, it just feels amazing. I didn't have that as a kid growing up, right? And so to see, I didn't have grandparents growing up. My parents were estranged from their grandparents. Like, I didn't know what that meant. And all this is why we work so hard, right? We work hard so that we can give our children and our children's children what we didn't get, or have that love and have that family experience.
Yeah, I love that as being like your best gift here in the world, because, I agree. I mean, I was a single parent for many years. I also have 2 daughters, and now just to be able to have the time with my grandkids. And we've actually utilized a lot of this time to do a lot of updates in our backyard, putting in roses and updating the deck and just making this environment. I think it's so important to create these spaces for the people that we love. And then you get this visual of, how you're spending your time, and then how's that, match up with your values. And so I think it's such a beautiful experience to just tie all of those things together. And I know that for some of our listeners here that, they may not be there. And so part of the conversation we look at is, what is that journey and that evolution? And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about sometimes that you were feeling disempowered and how you moved through that to then stand in your power. I know you've talked about losing millions in 2007. A lot of people are experiencing this now, as well as your divorce. Can you speak into a little bit about that and how that affected you and how you moved through that?
Ooh, yes. This is, I think this is humbling, right? I promise you I'm having PTSD of 2007, right? The difference is, I'm just more prepared, right? In 2007, I don't know if everybody did, but I did. I had a
lot of people.
A lot of people, right? I lost 90% of my wealth. It took me 20 years and we accumulated about 10 million in real estate and assets and, savings and investments. And we did everything that we, were instructed, right? We followed the mentors. We had a financial plan. I wasn't willy-nilly, right? We were still very frivolous, right? As a couple. And we had just bought, a couple years before our dream house. We just sold our business for millions. We were sitting in a place where I never had to work again, right? If I chose to. And that was a great experience. And then the market crashed. And what felt like, Diane, overnight, everything was ripped out from under me, right? So the dream of building this business, we walked away from the company that we sold our company to because they were dismantling the company and they weren't listening to us anymore. And that was like watching your child be ripped from you. And they didn't want my input anymore. I'm like, no, I built this company to a multi-million-dollar company. I know what I'm talking about in this genre. They were a publishing company, so they were just, they had high profits. Consulting companies have lower profits, right? So it was just this chaotic storm. And then when the market crashed, all our real estate investments crashed and we were upside down on everything. And because we were upside down, right, the attorney said, well, stop paying on this one. And then, because you can't be in financial integrity and short sell something. So it just became this big snowball. And I remember, Diane, being on the floor, just crying, like, why? And not like a pity party. But why? I was a good student. I was a good steward. I served. I'd done what I thought all the right things.
Right.
And my husband of 17 years just couldn't handle the stress. He felt like he was a failure. He felt like it was his fault. And I'm sure I'm going to take responsibility. I'm sure was not kind about it or nice about it, or, it was stressful. So he left. Right. And so the stable thing that I had in my life, which was, I thought this marriage that was, unbreakable, was broken. Right. Our financial world collapsed. Everything that I'd worked for collapsed. And I was on the floor just praying, like, what is the lesson? What do I need to learn here? I don't have another 20 years in me. Like, I felt like all my fight had been kicked out of me. I felt like I couldn't get up. And I heard, I'm going to say God, you guys could call it whatever you want. God's voice in my ear saying, get up. This will be your biggest lesson and your biggest victory. You know what to do. Get up. And, I wiped my tears and I was doing the ugly cry girl. And I said,
I'm feeling tingles with this, because I think that is the hardest space to be in when you are literally almost flat on your back or in fetal position, to have the strength even just to move forward one step, because it feels you're in such a defeated place. I love that you are sharing the actual on the floor, because it, mentally it can feel tough, but just if you put the whole thing together, mentally, physically, spiritually, when you feel defeated, just to take that one step and to listen to that voice that you're getting within you to do it, it feels like that's the longest mile.
That was the longest mile. It was so hard. And I just distinctly remember, again, I'm going to say God saying to me that you understand money. Do what you know how to do. So I got up. I had two clients that I was working with. That was Nichols and John Assaraf. Right. And so I said, I'm going to do for them what I did for myself. I'm not going to make it about me. If I would have made it about me and having my pity party and trying to survive, I don't think I would have done it. But I looked at Lisa's company and I said, I know what to do. I think hands down, she's one of the most powerful speakers, right? I say she has the Messiah factor. People walk by her and just want to touch her. But when I met her, she didn't have the business infrastructure, right? So it was like this hamster wheel. So we came in and we took that company from 800,000 to 10 million, right? And looking at build a structure, build the foundation. I would promise the moon, she would deliver the moon, right? We built a strong team, we built a strong foundation, right? That allowed us to create this amazing life. And I put all my energy in serving clients, right? And doing what we promised we would do, which was make them money, help them be better speakers, right? Really leverage their gifts and their talents. So it wasn't me. I didn't go, oh, buy me. I'm like, let me help you, Diane. How can I help you double, triple your income, right? She has the gift of personal development, speaker development. I have the gift of money. Look at your business. I guarantee you I'll find 50% more than you have right now. It's just what I do. I just see it everywhere. There's money all around you. If you get anything out of this, I want you to know that there's money all around you. You just need to access it, right? And you need to get the support and the right support that's going to help you unlock it. Right? I am where I am today because I have amazing coaches in my life. I have 3 financial coaches, 3, right? I have a tax strategist, I have a retirement strategist, I have a basic financial strategist. 3, I have a business coach that helps me in my business looking at strategizing. I have a personal development coach, AKA therapist, right? I've got to work on my own financial limitations, right? I grew up poor, and I don't mean the kind of poor that you're like, we didn't know we were poor. No, girl, we knew we were poor. Like we were so poor. There was 9 of us. Bobby, Ronnie, Stevie, Terry, Joni, Shelley, Susie, Kelly, Debbie, right? 9 of us, right? In a 1,200 square foot space, 1,200 square feet, 1 bathroom, 6 girls. I go back to that house. I have no idea how we all fit in that little house, right? Yeah. They call them cracker houses. They're little cracker box houses, tiny, tiny house. Right. And so what the gift that my dad did give me, he said, you can have whatever you want, just go work for it. So at a very young age, 11, 12, 13, I had every job imaginable, washing windows, doing yard work, babysitting, sewing people's clothes, ironing people's clothes, to go, what can I do to make money? So that I could, and literally I realized it was probably, 10 years ago, I have this thing about underwear. And I don't know, I'm in Victoria's Secret going, what is my fascination with underwear? I don't need any more underwear, but if I see a Victoria's Secret or if I see a La Perla, I'm going in there, right? I'm like, I'm going in there, I'm buying underwear. Well, I'm at the end, there's 2 under me. Everything is hand-me-down. So even your underwear were hand-me-down, which was gross. So I just had this thing, right? I'm like, no, it's my childhood. The first little money I got, I went and bought underwear and hid them. So nobody would wear my underwear but me.
So I think there's like a statement in here, like wealth is in your underwear.
Yeah, wealth is in your underwear. I'm just saying. It was my motivation in the beginning to go, I just want my own underwear. I just want my own things, right? If everything's handed, right? And then we would go to, our school shopping was Goodwill or yard sales. So we would go to our friend's house buying their clothes. So I'm like, oh my God, we were those kind of kids. And so I just like, I want something different for myself and for my children, just different.
But some of those life lessons, I mean, that really instills, especially for times like now where, your level of resilience and grit and be able to get through tough times, that comes from going through tough times, like to actually experience those kind of things. So I love that for, our listeners to really start looking at, it may feel really tough right now, but just look maybe a couple years back, maybe 20, 40 years back, whatever that is, you've gone through tough times. And this is where we need to build from that resilience and really come from that place of you've got this. And so I so appreciate, Susie, you sharing your journey and, giving people that sense of hope of that no matter where you're at, you can get up from there and go from there. And I know that our listeners are going to want to stay in contact with you. How can they do that?
So you can go to my website, which is my name, Susie Carder, C-A-R-D as in dollar or dinero, E-R. And we've got some great free things. I have a 10-point business assessment that you can get for free that just looks at where am I at. I don't know if you love these, Diane, but I love those quizzes you can take in magazines or online that says, you're here. And then you can go, that's me or that's not me, right? So it allows you to look at 10 points in your business to go, where am I genius at? And what's my underdeveloped strength? Wherever you're genius at. Underdeveloped strength, go hire a coach in that area. Go take a class in that area, right? So that you can bring that score up, right? It's just a roadmap to say you are here. And once you see you're here, you can't go back, right? Once you see it, you can't go back to what you didn't know before. So my goal is that we uncover those blind spots, because the blind spots are what keeping you not in your prosperity. It's keeping you stuck. It's keeping in your limitation, because you just don't know what you don't know. I want to bring to you, take the blinders off. Here's what you don't know, so that then we can put something in there that will give you that skill set that will allow you to make the money that you deserve. I believe wealth is our birthright. It's for all of us. It's not for some of us. It's for all of us. And when you tap into that, and it's not from a place of greed, if I don't make money, I can't serve the world. If I don't make money, I can't serve my community. I can't support the charities that I do. I can't support women like I do. It's one of my passion, right? Single moms, women of abuse, to go, you don't have to stay there, right? I was one. I don't want women ever to stay there or feel like there's no hope or there's no possibility. So I do all that I do for myself, for my children, and for other women.
I love it. Well, thank you, Susie. Thanks so much for sharing your wisdom and your journey. It's been so great to have you here. And for our listeners, thank you for sharing your resource of time with us. Community is more important than ever. I love this collaborative effort here. So I would love for any of you that are listening or watching, whatever platform, to put in the comments and to tag both Susie and myself. Any questions that you have, any ways that we can support you, we would love to do that. You can also look into the show notes to further connect with Susie. I also have a free gift in there for you too of the resetyourpowergift.com. You'll have lots of tools in there. This is the time to really brush up on the areas that you need to be more empowered in yourself and to step forward. So until we connect again, live your spotlight. Bye for now. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.